G'day guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we're looking at some of the techniques that reptile breeders may use to help identify if they've got male or female reptiles in their collections. Now before we actually dive in, some of these techniques may not use on every species of reptile as it might be usable. As well, we're also looking at the Australian species as that's what we're already able to keep here in Australia. So anything exotic, just double check that these techniques can be used. If not, let me know down in the comments below and I'll try and help you guys on how to figure out if you've got male or female. If not, probably talk to someone who is more professional than I am. However, our first segment will be goannas or monitor lizards. So we are joined here with Rosie, who is my Reptile monitor, as well as Dusty behind me, who's hanging out today. So it's often believed with your smaller species of monitors, such as Rosie and Dusty here. Now, what we're looking for is with males as spurs just behind the back legs here, indicating a male or female. It is believed that males have larger spurs than females. However, sometimes you might have a male that has very small spurs and a female that might have very, very large spurs. So sometimes that technique may not work. What I'll try and do as well, while they're younger, is candle the base of the tail because the skin is not as thick as it is when they're older. So the idea when you candle them is males have hemipenes, and the idea is hopefully the shadow from the hemipenes can be seen. So you know you've got male or female, because obviously with females they don't have anything, so it does help that way. When it comes to your larger species of monitors like lace monitors and your parentes, some people do go off by head size or the head shape. It can be a little different from male or female. Another area we look at too is the tail yet again. Instead of spurs, we're looking at the shape. Often with males, they have kind of a weird looking bulge and the tail kind of shapes a weird way. While females, well, they have nothing there, just tapers nicely and quite even. But the more reliable way will be to x-ray them to identify if you've got male or female. But even still, x-rays can be wrong sometimes. So oftentimes when you have a male and female, or you believe you have a male and female, pair them up and just hope for the best. Of course, keep a close eye on them just in case if they decide to fight, you can separate them without too much drama. However, it's like most of the time we kind of have to roll the dice, and hopefully Mother Nature will be on our side when pairing monitors together. We are doing our pythons next up. So I'm joined here with Aurora, who is my little diamond python, hopefully being a female. So there's three main methods that people will use to try and sex snakes. The first one is usually the very risky option. Second one is a guessing option. Then the third option is usually the most reliable. So I brought Aurora here off a breeder who'd use the first method, which would be trying to pop the snake when they're babies, especially fresh from the egg. The idea is to slowly massage their cloaca, and hopefully with males they'll pop out their hemipenes. If nothing really pops out, ideally be a female. However, it may not be the case half the time. So I'm taking the breeder's word and hoping Aurora here is a female, because later on I will be using the third method to figure out if she's actually a female or not. The only downside of trying to pop baby snakes is you can run the risk of actually doing some permanent damage to the organs down there. So I'll just usually suggest not doing that anyway. It's normally trying to be a guessing game. Next method would be when she's a bit older. Ideally, she should have smaller spurs than the males that I have. And it's often believed, very similar to your monitors, males have larger spurs than females. But sometimes, like I said with monitors, you might have a very feminine male or a very masculine female. So it is kind of a guessing game there. Lastly would be the probing method. Now, all this should be done by professionals as well, by the way, guys. So with Aurora here, once she's about 3-4 foot, so another probably 100% bigger, so twice the size of what she is now, I'll take her to someone who I can trust and probe her safely. And with probing, it often relies of shoving a cold metal probe with a little bit of lube on it down the tail base. So instead of come here, show your tail. So the idea is to go back into the tail here. Come on, girl. So that way to find out if male or female. Now it's often believed, or it should be the way, if I remember correctly. If it goes about 3, 4, maybe 5 scales deep, it should be a female. If it goes 5, 6, 7, it should be a male. So usually the deeper the probe goes, the more likely to be a male. The shallower it goes, the idea it should be a female. So that's normally the most reliable way of doing so. The only downside is you have to wait till your snake is at a suitable size to be probed safely. Otherwise, do it too small, and you might end up either A, doing it incorrectly, and B, you're going to end up injuring the snake itself. And of course, she decides to go on my hat and cause trouble. Anyway, we'll move on to our next group of reptiles, which will be our geckos. Like I promised, we're doing our geckos next up. So I'm joined here with Luna, who is my female spine-tailed gecko. She's trustworthy, unlike her counterpart Charcoal, who will be running around causing me headaches. Now, majority of the geckos are very easy to identify male and female. Now, this not works on every species. For example, I know the Binos prickly-tailed gecko, you can't tell male or female because I think majority of them are female anyway. And if memory serves me right, they can actually self-reproduce. So, yeah, that's a thing. But majority of the geckos, there's a dead giveaway on how to tell male and female. If you're a boy, you have two gonads at the base of your tail giving away you're a boy. Females, of course, you won't have anything there. So at least luckily, most of the gecko species can be easily identified male to female. Our next group of reptiles we're about to cover off are probably one of the hardest groups of reptiles to identify male and female across each species. Joined here with Toothless, who is one of my Cunningham skinks, as a training session, as well to showcase how quickly you are growing. Stop growing so fast. So when it comes to our small skink species, like our she-oaks, our sand swimmers, stuff like that, it's pretty much impossible to tell male and female across every single species. Best chances of breeding those would be having small groups of them together. Hopefully, A, they all get along well, and B, you've got at least a male and female there who will breed. If there's fights occur, chances are it's just two boys fighting, and whoever's a weaker male, I suggest taking out. Even you might even have individuals that just fight in general and they don't really get along. So just keep a close eye when you have multiple skinks together in one cage. Our next group of skinks will be our Cunningham family or spine-tailed family, including Cunninghams, Gizzy skinks, stuff like that. They are another group of skinks that are pretty much almost impossible to tell male and female across. So with Meatlug and Toothless here, hopefully one day I can pair them together and see if they're male or female. If I have babies, perfect, I've got a pair. If nothing happens, either A, I've got two boys who are actually getting along well, or B, I've got two females. So it's going to be a very risky move when I do these guys later on, as they can be also another aggression or more aggression there in them. Next group will be our blue tongues, like the blue tongue skink, the common blue tongue should say, because there's multiple subspecies of them, and the shinglebacks. Most people claim they can tell male and female blue tongues by either the head shape or body shape. It's often believed that male blue tongues have a larger head than females. Females often have a longer body than the males themselves, as well as wider hips to give birth to the babies. Sometimes that may not be the case, like a lot of things I've mentioned in the video. The only reliable way to sex them would be to X-ray them, or hopefully put a pair together and see what happens. Now, when you are pairing skinks together, usually their technique of mating would be if they want to breed. Oftentimes they'll grab around the shoulder area or around the upper ribcage area, indicating they're trying to mount the female. If there's usually biting around the feet, the tail, the head, that is a fight. So that's kind of how you tell apart mating from fighting. When it comes to our shinglebacks, yet again, people claim head shape as well as tail shape within that species to identify male and female. Like I said before, males have the larger head, while females have a bit more slimmer head. And with the tail base, it is claimed that males have more of a pointier tail than females, with the females are more rounded. However, all the information there may not be as reliable because skinks in general are just so hard to identify male to female. And I'm sure what really is if they're big enough, it's X-ray them. So yeah, if you guys are skink people, I wish you luck. We have our dragons up next, and we've got Akko here, who is my female Eastern War Dragon, joining us for the next portion of the video. She's not that thrilled about it, but suck it up, princess. So I find dragons as a group of reptile have a wide diversity on how to showcase male and female with their sexual dimorphism. However, there are some species that don't really show. It's more or less you have to have a closer look to identify male and female. So our most commonly kept dragon out there would be either your central bearded dragon or the smaller cousin, their pygmy bearded dragon. So how breeders will sex them now, leaders for professionals, would be to gently lift up the tail base and press on the back of it. The idea is to hopefully the hemipenes on a male will show through the skin, showcasing that, of course, our boy. Females, of course, don't have that, so there'll be nothing there. That's how we tell male and female bearded dragons apart. When it comes to other dragon species like your war dragons, your frill necks, stuff like that, there is sexual dimorphism showcasing across the species. So you want it on my shoulder. There you go. No. Bear with me, guys. Akko does what she wants, apparently. So with Akko here behind me, with female war dragons, it's the case that they'll have a white chest and belly, while the males will have a red chest. Another dead giveaway is that males have a big buffy head, while females have a very feminine looking head, as you see on Echo behind me, if you can see her. Okay, she just wants to go back in the cage. So, back on that segment. So we have dragons with war dragons, like I said, females often have a white belly and males with red chest, but their cousins, the gifts and war dragons, I find with the females have more yellow on their cheeks and their neck. Males have orange. Now, in the case with your fern-neck dragons and your boys forest dragons, it's very hard to sex them when they're babies. You've got to wait till they're actually sexually mature to identify a male or female. With male fern-necks, they have massive gels inside their cheekbones and a big boofy head to showcase their man, while with females, very slim built heads and have nothing in the way of gels at all. With your boys forest dragons, males usually have, yet again, a big buff head. You guys seeing a trend here with dragons? So do I. And often their spines, the back of their neck, will be larger than the females. When it comes to central netted dragons, I find the boys are much larger than the females. And color-wise, they're about the same, but yet again, big buffy head. We are now focusing on our final group of reptiles for this video, being freshwater turtles. Unfortunately, in Australia, it's illegal to own land tortoises, so I'm not too sure how you identify male and females there, since I don't have that knowledge. But a good majority of a freshwater species of turtle here can be identified male and female once they mature. When they are babies, it's pretty much impossible to tell male and female because they haven't matured yet. Now, it's not really so much about age, it's so about size. So once a freshwater turtle here in Australia reaches a certain size, they will sexually mature. Now, there's a couple of key features that we normally look for in freshwater turtles, being males that have a concave shell underneath to help mount the female for breeding, as well males that have a longer tail than females to help them reach around the back and mate with the female. But apart from that, that's kind of only two areas we to look for. And some species may not have a concave shell than others, but normally their tails are usually their giveaway. So that's how we sex turtles. That will be it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys learn a thing or two from how you sex reptiles. As long as you leave it to professionals in some cases, there are a couple of ways you can do it at home, but just be very gentle with your animals. You don't want to hurt them. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.